Hello and welcome to the Captain's Table, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Paul Berserker01, Batman Shelley, your humble host and space bartender here at the AstroPub, your space bar at the end of the universe. This is the Captain's Table, where I bring people from all over the Star Citizen universe to talk about Star Citizen. Sometimes we do theory crafting, sometimes we talk about the latest news, sometimes we talk about ships. It really depends. We just kind of go wherever Star Citizen sends us, wherever the vibes take us. And today is slightly different. We've actually talked about recently is server meshing. We talked about server meshing in the past, but right after the show or during the show, Radar Ranger reached out to me and was like, I wish you I would have known this was going on beforehand because I've got a bunch of experience in this sort of thing. So I'd love to come on. And so I had a chance to have Radar Ranger and Naz on, and Naz is another one of those folks who does way too much, knows way too much about server meshing and how it functions. So I figured
especially with not being a server dev.
Yes. But Radar Ranger and Naz both have some experience in tech, working in tech. So they both have that sort of background. So they come at it from that analytical mindset. So it's a good kind of thing to talk about it. So before we get started on that, let's introduce folks. I'll start with you, Naz. Who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen? And where can they find you?
Hello, everyone. I am, as he said, Nazareth. I do mostly streams. That's on YouTube and Twitch at the Nova Forge. So far, currently, it's been all Star Citizen 324 PTU. Eventually, I'll get bored of playing 324 and go back to Space Engineers or Starfield. But for now, I just am always doing that. There's plenty to do in 324. I will eventually, when I can actually get my work ethic to follow into making videos again. I have a couple in mind. Be doing videos again on Star Citizen and surrounding sci-fi games. And I also run the org No Forge Industries. We are an economy-based org. We do mostly salvage, mining, and cargo. Cargo being my favorite gameplay in the game.
So 3.24. So 3.24 is your patch.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Everything about moving stuff around is like yes.
You want to help me out in my office here?
Gladly. I'll put it in a box and ship it somewhere.
You find it funny because like my wife and I will do this every 6 months or so. We'll like take a look at a room and be like, can we reorganize it? Can we move things around? So my house is constantly in flux with things. It's just something she wants to do.
I have a lot of family members that do that too. They'll just like, it's not. I don't like it anymore. Rearrange everything. I don't do the whole rearranging a room every 6 months. I will, however, like take a step back and say, can I optimize it?
Yeah.
Because like where the furniture is in my room, I like the where everything is.
Feng shui.
But like, is the shelf optimized? Can I like reorganize the books on it to like make them stand up, not piles
you
on
guys
the
are
shelves?
scaring me because you're discussing my worst nightmare.
Speaking of worst nightmare, Radar Ranger, who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen? Where can they find you? I only say that because my worst nightmare is waking up and hearing your application going off telling me there's a tornado watch or tornado warning in my area.
Rightly so. You should be scared. So I am a self-professed Star Citizen uber nerd. The connection for me for Star Citizen is way back in 2017. So I'm a CEO of a company called My Radar. We make a weather app that Paul just mentioned. Pretty good at showing maps, and you're just okay. Well, I guess it's news for everybody. So we're pretty good at showing weather maps and things like that. But back in 2017, we did a collaboration with CIG where we took their planets and we made them as maps that you could browse in the app, and it was a lot of fun. It was really cool. I talked about it at the 2017 CitizenCon. You can find that online. And let me see what else. As if I need more nerd cred, I launched a satellite into orbit that had a Star Citizen logo on it. Yes, it's true. You can Google it. You can find me on Twitch.
I just need to like bow out for the rest of the thing. It's all your show
now. For those you're wondering,
that's a good picture of absolutely nothing happening.
Yeah, absolutely nothing's happening.
Except a lot of heat. It looks very hot.
Yes, and if you want to, you can scroll out and you can kind of see the more of the.
Yeah, radar. I downloaded that instantly after SystemCon. Like that's I did not know that was did not connect names.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That whole thing, that whole collaboration.
Yeah.
If you want to find me, you can find me on Twitter or X under A Green, like the color A Green.
It's a really good app. I use it, and one of the things that it does really good, especially if you're in an area that has a lot of like weather phenomena, like Texas does. If you have a lot of rain, or you have a lot of like, if you live near like the Gulf or near the coast, I'll often get warnings about rain coming within like minutes of when it's going to happen. So like I'll know it'll be like rain's going to stop in 15 minutes. Rain's going to start in 10 minutes. Like, and it's almost, I wouldn't say it's direct on, but it's very, very close to when it's going to happen. So if you're kind of in a situation where you are like, should I leave the house with an umbrella or not? This kind of app is a really good deal, just for everyday use. So
it is very good, but I owe the props to the people who worked on that. That was not me. They were very smart.
Does it work in Canada? Yes, I believe it does.
Yes.
Yeah. So good app. But yeah, and it is cool that you're setting up another satellite, aren't you?
Yeah, actually, we're setting up a constellation. So we are building one right now, a prototype or a final prototype for a commercial constellation. There's going to be like 150 of them, and they're going to monitor the Earth for disasters and hazards. So one of the first ones we're going to be working on is wildfire detection. So they're going to use AI in orbit to look at the planet 24/7, and as soon as they see something that looks like a trigger of a wildfire or an area that's at risk, it'll send a notification to somebody on the ground and kind of alert them. So it's a lot of fun. A little stressful trying to stay on schedules, but it's fun.
Nice. All right. With that being said, we're going to be talking about server meshing, and we got rated by Soul Citizens right here. So thank you, Soul Citizens. Hello. And this is where I'll do a nice caveat for that one. If you're watching us live on Twitch, make sure you hit that follow button if you haven't already done so, and make sure you check out Podset Saturdays, which is our Saturday block of Star Citizen podcasts. You can start off with Soul Citizens, move on to the Captain's Table, and then afterwards we've got the Relay Station. So all of us have been doing this for a very long time, and it's a nice little kind of block. So if you're looking for a live shows on Saturdays, you just want hear people talk about Star Citizen, Soul Citizens, then the AstroPub and the Relay, relay.sc or relay_sc, I think. So, but yeah, with that, let's get into server meshing proper. Now, I'm going to start off with the very softball, easy to answer, but it's something that comes up enough times because it's, as Jared likes to say, everyone shows their first show. I don't know how you got here. If this is your first time looking at Star Citizen, if this is the first thing that pops up under server meshing, I did something right or wrong. I don't know what. But Andy, I'll start with you. All right, with this, is server meshing possible? Can CIG do server meshing?
Yeah, my answer to that is absolutely. With anything, with time, anything is possible. But I would say that because of the situation they're in, they've got a very talented group of people that work with them. They've been working on this problem for a while. I think it's definitely going to be doable. I think the first thing I would do is manage everybody's expectations to recognize that when it first comes out, it's going to be buggy, because it is a major undertaking that completely changes the structure of how the game works under the hood. So, there will, just like everything, that CIG has kind of done, they're developing it in real time and then releasing it to the public to play right away. And that comes with the caveat that there's going to be bugs in it. And it's us as the players that kind of help suss those problems out, bring them to the surface and let the devs find them and conquer them. And, I just playing the PTU over the years, you can see how it starts off in this really rough state and you kind of get a little bit pessimistic. But, undeniably, for the most part, every time they're very good at being able to identify the problem and they kind of resurrect things from the dead. You kind of think that things are a bit lost, but they wind up fixing all the bugs and getting it to the point where it's stable. It's obviously, not 100% perfect by the time it hits live, but it's playable. And, when they finally get to release, then that's when they can tackle it and make sure that it's, has much better uptime and it, runs more reliably. But yeah, absolutely, I think they can do it.
I'll add on to this. Do you think they can do it before the end of the year?
I think they can release it before the end of the year. Yes. Will it be flawless?
Okay.
Probably not.
Probably not. So yeah. They can definitely release it, and they probably can release it this year. but it's not going to be perfect.
Yeah. I mean, you know, we could get lucky. I mean, they've got a lot of, they're definitely, you know, cranking away on it behind the scenes. Nobody's been testing it yet in the public other than a couple of Evocati one-offs here and there. So they have some case studies to see how it's going to perform under load. But, you know, I think it's reasonable to expect that there's going to be issues with it when it first comes out. And if you set your expectations to, you know, if you manage your expectations to expect that, it'll make it a little bit easier to be impressed by it when it comes out.
Okay. I'll sit with you there, Naz. Same question. Start off. Is it possible?
Yes, it's been done before, just not in this specific way, because everyone that does any server architecture for a game, everyone has to completely rewrite the idea, because no two games are alike. Even if it's chess and chess, some implementation of something is going to be different, and so their server tech's going to have to be different. So we have several games that have done server meshing things, whether that's in like World of Warcraft, where there are static servers that you can just walk between regions and there's some sort of transitional area, or something like Dual Universe, where it's a grid over a large area. It's been done, just not in Star Citizen's way. So I think it's completely possible. Like Ranger said, like it's just time.
Just time. Do you think they could do it this year?
I think it's been enough time that they this was supposed to be out into 2020, and they've had all this time to go back to drawing boards and to refine processes and things. That I think they are ready, and they've been last server meshing video. Every time they talked about a specific piece of tech in the arch that is the server meshing tech, that it's all running really shockingly well. So I do think like we are going to get 4.0 this year. I'm oddly optimistic about it, even it being late. Like they said in the letter, not letter, what was it? No, the roundup, last one. It's not 4.0's fault it's late this time. It's 3.24's fault it's late this time.
Because they had to spend more time on the back end of 3.24 because of issues that popped up.
Yeah, and it's still kicking up some stuff.
Yeah.
I think they were still able to, my view is I think they were still able to keep chugging away on 4.0 and server meshing. So 3.24 wasn't necessarily blocking them, but it did keep them from releasing it. You know, you can't really, it's not practical to put out two major releases at the same time.
I wouldn't be shocked if like we get live of 3.24 in like the next week or so, like by next Friday, and Evocati like starts up that day. Yeah. And then like that's still a month plus to get to
a PTU phase.
At least a all waves PTU by CitizenCon.
Yeah. I would add on to that because like I agree that I think, you know, it's definitely possible. Based off of my much more limited exposure to this technology and playing some of the tech builds that they've done with it, it's possible. And it's definitely possible this year. I still think an October release, or at least always PTU October, isn't too difficult because to give people context, like if it goes into even Evocati in the middle of September, it's still they still have a month from the middle of September before CitizenCon. So, and most Evocatis, I think a lot of people are traumatized by previous Evocatis, like the or PTUs like 318. They were like, or it took like 6 months to come out.
That's not a normal PTU.
No,
that was not normal.
Your typical PTU is about 50 days, so it's around 40 to 50 days.
There is a spreadsheet out there of PTUs.
Yeah. I forgot who keeps posting it. I think it might be Jin, but it might be somebody else, or it may be Macden in my Discord, who posts the least episodes.
There is a slight misconception that they've been planning 4.0 for Q4 this entire time. If anyone can find a video of people going over the roadmap this past week, it said Q3.
Yeah, it's Q3
all year.
But I'll be frank, honestly, with the complexity of this project, I'm kind of amazed that they're able to keep on schedule as much as they do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, the company has grown very large. They're adding people all the time. They didn't start off this size. Being able to keep a project this size organized as well as, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say that they're perfect or flawless, but clearly this is a huge project, and to be able to get all of the teams and all of the pieces of it to line up at the same time to have a release when you project it to happen is it's not an easy thing, to pull that off.
Yeah. But it's also important to keep in mind that when it comes like 4.0 is that in my own experience, it's not going to be flawless. It's going to have some gnarly bugs. And I mean like weird bugs. Like for those of you who haven't seen this in the tech preview, there's this weird thing where when you cross a server boundary, when you're staring at somebody who's across the server boundary, they will disappear. And we discovered the reason why they disappear isn't because they disappear, but it's because typically when you enter that server boundary, you're leaving, say, like space and going into like a moon. That moon is spinning. So when you enter the when you're entering, because it's moving so fast, when you're entering the other server boundary, you're actually being basically caught into that gravity. So you just like go from just like boom. Like you're just zoomed away. And so it looks like they disappear because they just kind of instantly start traveling at that speed. Wow. So it's like those sorts of weird things will happen where like if they did that in like two servers together on like a planet, you probably wouldn't see it. But a lot of that is just because of just the speed of the orbit of the planets and the moons.
Yeah. There's a lot of complicated moving pieces with it.
Yeah. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of weird bugs and issues with 4.0 that they're going to have to chase down, like the weird outliers, and that's why they did the tech previews to kind of try to get an idea of what those would be and what they're going to look like.
Just imagine you cross the server board and screen fades to black.
Yeah.
You're finally awake.
Yeah. So yeah, there's definitely going to be things. Yeah, and you're right. This 4.0 was definitely scheduled originally for the end of summer. I just never thought they were going to make it to the end of summer because like optimistic is not something I am when it comes to CIG.
So I apparently have stumbled across the thing that they talked about, that Benoit talked about at the beginning of CitizenCon.
Mm-hmm.
I had just relentless optimism. I don't care how I don't care when it goes wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I understand it does go wrong, and I understand CIG does do wrong things. Like I would definitely not put myself in the white knight kind of area, but like I still have optimism for the
Mm-hmm.
game and for just gaming in general. Like
I'm the same way with this. Like I'm honestly a little bit surprised that people get disappointed as much as they do, that it was put off a little bit. I think maybe it's a little bit of not fully understanding the scope of the change that's being implemented here, and this idea that putting it off one quarter is really that disappointing. It makes me wonder how much the early missteps from CIG might be impacting how we feel now, or how some people feel now.
Oh, definitely.
Like, there was obviously that year where 3.0 and all these other features were promised. That was clearly an ambitious and overzealous
I still hear people pull up the 2017, the 2016 roadmap.
That's a good case in point, because that's what sets people's tone now, and I think they're maybe a little bit shell shocked, and worried that any delay is going to be just more of the same. But I mean, to me, again, being in dev, software development, you still see progress. Delays are expected.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like they're not working on it. They have shown progress. They've done a few tests here and there. I think it comes down to having a little bit of patience.
Yeah, and the gaps have gotten smaller over time.
Yeah,
like
and the realizations are a little more tangible.
Yeah, the 2016 CIG, like it's clear they were well off their mark and obviously had problems with like chunking down what they were going to do. Not
to mention the entire game being thrown out.
Yeah. But like
one dev came and said, "I can do planets."
Yeah. And then, like as they've continued, those ranges have gotten smaller and smaller. And I'd say in the last 4 years, they've really been able to dial in the like release ideas. So you typically, if something slips, it doesn't slip for a year or 5 years. It slips for 6 months or 3 months or a month. Right. So like they're getting better when things do slip, and they've also been getting better. I will be the first to jump on the roadmap because I like Jake. Jake and I are friends. We've been friends for a very long time. But I will hold Jake to the standard that Jake holds themselves. And Jake likes to point out quite frequently there's been 5 things since Jake took over the roadmap that have slipped, that have removed, that completely slipped off the roadmap. 5 for the last 3 years. So we're a little bit shell shocked. I think that is true. We're a little bit shell shocked because of how bad CIG's managed expectations in the past. But they've gotten better at it, but we tend to not give them the credit for it because we still remember that bad feeling of 318 or those other things.
It's also really weird to like hear people specifically complain about like delays when the number one complaint when any AAA game comes out, whether it's CD Projekt Red, whether it's a Star Wars game, whether it's Starfield, and I hold this to like every game that's come out in the past, like, or any non-indie game that's come out in the past like 5, 10, maybe even 25 years, it needed more time.
Yeah,
and everyone's like, it should have baked longer.
Yeah, that is
like
an incredibly
Shattered
valid
Space.
criticism.
Shattered Space should have been 1.0 Starfield.
Yeah,
I don't even know what the heck is in Shattered Space. I just know it's going to be polished. It's going to have better frame rate, and the gameplay is actually going to be cohesive.
Yeah, and Starfield's a great example because they spent a lot of time in that first 20 hours to really try to work out the bugs. When I first played it, the first 20 hours, it was fine. Like I didn't really encounter any bugs. I encountered some weird stuff, but like compared to Star Citizen, it was smooth. And then people started playing it beyond the 20-hour mark, and it was like, oh God, what did you do? It's because it's like they polished the first 20 hours and just said, fuck it, we gotta go, man, we gotta push this.
They weren't really hiding it, but they were joking around their problems, which is, and they said it like point blank. They said they've been working on this for 25 years.
Yeah.
But everything was thrown together in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
And it shows because any different activity you do has a different key set.
Yeah. Yeah.
To get in your chair, it's E. To get up during flight, it's E. To get up when landed, it's X. Or Y.
Well, let's move on from that. But I think the general tone of what I'm gathering from all of us is that we all think the CIG can do this. Like server meshing tech isn't something that is impossible to do. It is possible. Other games have done variations of it. And the way CIG is doing it should be done not only possible, but it should be able to make it before the end of the year. Just not in a good state, probably in an early version where they still have to chase down a lot of the issues.
Yep. It's reasonable to expect that.
Yeah. So let's go into the next thing I wanted to talk about, and I'll start with you on this one, Naz, which is what is the steps beyond server meshing? Like what first initial steps of server meshing? What's beyond that?
So after 4.0, there's obviously that's static server meshing V1, and then from that they've said that they're planning to go to dynamic server meshing V1, which is the servers in the mesh have a planned scalability that they can shrink or subdivide into, and whatever the reverse of subdivide is, coagulate into bigger servers.
Merge.
Condense.
Coalesce.
Yeah. All good words. So that it can better handle density of activity.
Okay.
And then from that they move on to Dynamic 2, which it can invent its own kind of per object container subdivisions. And then there's a theoretical fourth step where they then decouple all physical connections, and I'm not really sure on how they're planning on doing that.
So how far out do you think server meshing V1 or V2 is, the dynamic one?
Dynamic 1, I think.
Is it this year?
The way the server devs are talking, I'd hesitate to say this year because like I'm pretty sure they're just going to do 4.0 and then the IE patch and then next year. But I like the way the server devs were talking at CitizenCon. I wasn't there, but I saw a lot of videos of them. And they were like, they don't even want to do static one. They don't want it. They want to jump straight to dynamic because that's like where the fun problems are. So I can imagine it first half of next year for sure. If not, definitely by the end of next year.
Okay. Same question for you there, Radar. Do you agree that with CIG that the next step seems to be that dynamic, what they kind of laid out as dynamic one? And do you think? I mean, and when do you think?
I that when question is really hard.
Yes.
I have heard some of the devs say that it's already done in the sense that the hardest work was just getting the static server meshing.
Mm-hmm.
because then you're building out the infrastructure to separate all the services, to have a server confined to a certain region. My guess is that their static one is going to involve some form of working with an object container as its entity for streaming or for meshing. And if it's really at that point just a matter of handling the dynamic aspects, when to spin up and when to have a server take on more than one particular object container, it might not be that challenging. Like clearly the main server meshing is the bigger challenge. The dynamic aspect is more or less a secondary iteration to make it more efficient. So I can't imagine that it would be that much more difficult, and I don't think it would take as long. It's just a matter of finding the right formula as to when to spin something up, when to spin it down and consolidate. That's the other word. There you go.
Consolidate, yeah.
Everything into one server. So yeah, I wouldn't expect it to take too long. I think first half of next year would be optimistic.
Okay.
Pessimistic would be the end of next year.
But so what you're saying is that we're not going to have to wait another like 12 years before CIG
I would like to think not. Don't hold it against me.
It is dev happens. That something's going to happen. You never know what's going to happen, but
Jared's favorite line, the only constant.
Yeah. But at the same time, given how CIG has talked about it and given its similarities to other technologies, people in chat are already talking about Ashes of Creation. We'll get to it. We're going to talk about Ashes of Creation because the Ashes of Creation.
An entire hour-long presentation in half an hour to not talk about it.
Yeah,
I gotta go run to grab my potato out of the oven. I'll be right back.
Good. But for those who don't know, Ashes of Creation is actually got a lot of connections with Star Citizen because if I remember correctly, isn't it also founded by former Origin devs? I may have to look that up. I might be thinking of another.
Now I gotta look more stuff up.
Well, the crossbow in Star Citizen, was that Ashes of Creation? Or was that a different game?
Altaflex? What?
The crossbow. You got the crossbow if you backed a different project. You got a crossbow in Star Citizen.
Oh, I have no idea. I completely missed that. Probably because it wasn't a game that.
Oh, Shadow of the Ancients. Okay, there we go. That was different.
Creation. Where's the team? Intrepid. Give me your team.
Studios.
Don't
Steven
want
Sheriff.
Value. I didn't see anything on him.
Shroud of the Avatar. Thank you. That was different. My bad. Radar put my PC in the oven. Yes, Jaybird, just your PC. But and we already mentioned, or we actually mentioned before this as well, that it's also not even just Ashes of Creation. It's also Dual Universe did something similar too. So, but what I was going to say? Oh, I will also wrap up this discussion about like the step beyond it, Dynamic One. It's also important to remember that a lot of what Dynamic One is, for those of you who don't follow this closely, is basically what static is, but dynamically. So it uses the same volumes of static, but instead of having those volumes be always on or always active, it can keep them. I said this before, and I said I was corrected to say no. It's not that they turn it off. It's just that it's no longer active of some kind, or it's basically taking the static versions, but also then reducing the usage of that server when no one's in that server. So, anywho. Moving on to the part to the second question. We'll wait. I'll ask it again when Radar gets here, which is server meshing NAS? Is it the silver bullet? Is it gonna?
No.
Is this the Jesus patch? Is this gonna fix all the problems in Star Citizen? Is server meshing going to fix everything?
No, server meshing does not fix bugs.
Okay,
If
so
anything, it makes bugs.
Why should people care about server meshing though? Like does it fix everything? But then if it doesn't fix everything, then why should people care?
It is the last foundational tech. There is what's it called? Star Sim.
Mm-hmm.
Star Sim over there, but it's not foundational. We can build the game without it. It is like Star Sim is going to greatly enhance the game, but it's not foundational.
Okay.
Server meshing is the final foundation that they can now just work on primarily content.
Features.
Yeah.
Mechanics. Yes.
So I'll ask you the same question there, Radar. Is 4.0, is this first initial, is this the silver bullet? Is this the Jesus patch? Is this going to fix all the problems of Star Citizen?
Fixing all the problems. Well, I think it's going to solve a lot of issues. I'm not 100% sure it's going to solve all of them. Clearly, server load has been an issue with AI, a bazillion other features. If they get server meshing to work properly, they're really cutting that out for the most part as a major factor in what might delay things or what might make features break. If they can get, I'm going to take the chance and say this, if they can get server meshing to actually work well enough to the point where it's not so frustrating that people don't want to play, I think it could be that barrier that comes down to making a lot of the other gameplay features work as intended. So like, they went through a lot of trouble to make the AI work really well. They're supposedly happy with the way it works in Squadron 42 because you don't have that kind of server load issue. I think there's a good chance that it could be. Yeah, it's sort of the last barrier as far as major pillars that they needed to finish. They've got persistence in there. The server meshing allows to have a larger group of people and players in the same location where you start to get that emergent gameplay. So yeah, I think there's a good chance that it will be. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that's an interesting take on it. I've always taken the approach that server meshing is not something that is going to revolutionize how you play Star Citizen, but it will, as you said, bring down the barriers. It will remove the blocks for a lot of gameplay and let the developers develop.
Yeah.
It's clear if you talk to the developers that a lot of them are frustrated because they have ideas and they want to pursue ideas and do the move fast break things of approach to things like missions and mechanics. Like it's clear Yogi wants to just iterate. It's clear that Elliot and his team want to just start throwing missions at us and see how we respond and how to balance it and work through that. But
I completely buy the logic that you cannot work on gameplay mechanics and features unless server meshing is in some kind of final state. Because if you go through all the effort to code something for a single instance that you then have to rework to make sure that it works across server, it's wasted effort. And I absolutely can see the rationale behind having that be the blocker behind, having some of these really cool, fun things that you need as part of a game to become a reality,
Yeah, and I think that's the thing to take away from it. Not that it's going to cure cancer. It's not going to make your experience suddenly. Star Citizen doesn't suddenly become a game because 4.0 comes out. What it does do is allow the developers to craft the game beyond the initial the initial builds that they have now. Because once that fundamental technology is in, I don't see server meshing, like dynamic meshing and any of the future dynamic meshing really changing how gameplay works. Do you see that? We'll start with you on that there, Radar. Do you
see server meshing changing how gameplay works?
Yeah, do you see like future iterations of server meshing? Because like we know the first version static meshing is coming out. Do you think like dynamic meshing will fundamentally change how they may have to develop, basic gameplay.
No, how as far as in impacting how they develop things, no,
Yeah.
probably not. Like, you could make the argument that they have to make sure that the code they're working on is capable of having a server yanked out from underneath them. Like if it suddenly gets consolidated by some process somewhere. But that's probably built in by design from the static server meshing. So I can't imagine that dynamic server meshing would be that much of a blocker. Anything that they right now, it'd be silly for them to not be designing that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
That their environment and their server of authority could change at any minute.
So like, but like that, the idea being like that they should be already looking into that like as a future problem.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be very surprised and shocked if they weren't.
Naz, how about you? Do you think that there's any kind of, because that's the other thing. A lot of people always say that, I think people, again, we've talked about how they're once bitten, twice shy, about like,
I think it's
the next
it's
technological breakthrough.
Yeah, it's an interesting, like, little, like, trying to divide server meshing from 4.0 is going to be very hard, because there is a crap ton of gameplay in 4.0 that we do not have in Stanton. And, like, just the repair missions alone are going to be really cool. That's not because of server meshing, but we can get it because server meshing, because that's in a different system. And I think that's, like, it affects the game on a macro level, not on a micro level. It like you guys have been saying, like, it will let devs be devs and do dev. It's not going to change you waking up in your hab, you grabbing your gear, you getting in your ship, you're going on missions, or whatever it is that you do in the game. Like, it's not going to really change that. It is going to let them flavor that increasingly as we harden server meshing, as we get into dynamic server meshing, because we'll see more NPCs, we'll see more players, and we'll have more varied experiences, all enabled by server meshing, but not because server meshing.
Okay. Sorry, I saw a meme. I just glanced over, saw the meme. It's a complicated one, but it's a cat holding a brownie that says, "This is Paul. He will only be here once and gone forever. This is your last chance to say hi, Paul. Say hi, Paul, for good luck." And I'm like, that feels like a threat as someone named Paul. Why? What are you doing to me, random internet person? But yeah, and as people in chat are also pointing out little things like, pointing out like a lot of the just like AI is super bottlenecked by server meshing and all these sorts of things. The one thing I will also add on to this is that server meshing is going to improve some aspects, and it will, as a result, cause more problems. A good example is, I don't think we're going to see a huge amount of player cap increase with 4.0. I think we will see one, but I don't think it's going to be massive, because CIG wants to have.
We're not going to get from 100 to 10,000.
No, we're going to go to 200.
Not until maybe dynamic.
Yeah,
you probably won't see a seismic jump until we get to dynamic server meshing, because you're still going to run into this problem that they can't avoid yet. Like, even if let's just say they divide Stanton into 4 servers, you still run the risk of, if everybody goes to one planet, you're still going to have that many entities to deal with. The only benefit is that one server now no longer has to worry about all the entities that were in the other 4 regions, for example. So it'll be a bit of a jump, but I mean, I wouldn't expect it to be as huge as it could be ultimately once all this stuff is done.
I also think that a lot of it is because they want to have some space for increased NPCs, because we're going to see more NPCs patrolling, more NPCs just flying around, hanging out. We might see increased NPC count on the ground. So you'll see like in Pyro, for instance, during the Pyro playground, there was like, hey, clear out this mission or this base. And the base, the whole like kill number of people out of stuff, it was like 75. Like, go kill 75 people. Like, what?
Yeah, there was also,
This is an intro mission. Like go kill an entire town, kill that village. All right, just go into that village and just start shooting.
pyro for you,
you know. But like, can you imagine? The idea is like 75 people in a town, and that's a solo mission. That's a lot of NPCs that they're gonna have to render and moving in. You know, yeah. So
serial killer sim.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's like specifically NPCs that take down servers. I saw somebody say that in chat. Like, I don't think if you were running, like, if you had players and NPCs and you ran servers with just live versions of them both, I think players would take it down way faster than a count of NPCs would. You know, probably 1 for 1. Because, like, they've optimized the crap out of NPCs. Not only to have, you know, large-scale battles in Squadron without a server, without kind of being able to cordon off the battle, whatever battle you're in, let's say the opening credits with the amazing bagpipes, there's like 20 cap ships there.
Yeah.
Like, they need to be able to run all that on your client.
Yeah.
And so even in, like, Star Citizen, you have, like, currently we have all the NPCs in all Stanton, and that runs. You load up a even like Blockade Runner now, where there's like 20 NPCs around the station, still running fine.
Yeah,
it's when players start doing crap that shuts down.
Yeah, I was just doing just on 3.24 live before we started the podcast.
3.24 live, huh?
Oh, sorry, 3.24 PTU, open PTU. It was 3.24. I was just on 3.24, and it was doing and the blockade running mission was live, I should say. And I just happened to be in the station that was getting blockaded as I was doing a cargo mission. So
yeah, I went to go get the Freelancer Max from Lorville and the Taurus because I'm testing out the vehicles and how good they are. Spoiler alert, a lot of them are really bad because of how they're configured and what the boxes they're shooting out. Because most cargo holds are 3 SCUs tall, and they give you 8 SCUs constantly.
Yeah.
So you can't stack them on top of each other. So you only have the length and width of the bay. It's terrible. But I got in the Max. I'm like, oh, I just got to pick this up at Everest. There's 20 people here.
Yeah.
Dived into the hangar.
Yeah,
and boy.
But I mean, performance is fine. Like I got chased by like 7 ships, including multiple, like at least one Mantis, and I got messed up a lot, but like I was able to outrun it. But the performance wasn't hitting. I wasn't seeing like 4 FPS. I was still like at 30-40 FPS, which is my typical. I
still like
round,
master modes. Because like I was flying in a cargo ship. I was on nav mode the entire time.
So, yeah. Oh wow, you were doing a nav mode, so you didn't even have shields. You were just bulleting like let's just go.
Ponies right there.
Yeah.
Like I just need to get into the hangar and then I'm fine. The doors will close, I'll be fine.
Gosh. Oh.
And then I'm like, okay, I got the cargo. Engines are on. Engines are warm. Get off the ground, then call the hangar and go.
All right, let's finish up with some of the last topics. The last topic before we get to the Ashes of Creation thing that I kind of want to know is what do you think this is going to have a long-term impact on Star Citizen? We talk often in terms of, you know, people like to focus on the immediate things, 4.0 and next year. Overall, what do you think the impact of server meshing when its final version is? What should that look like? So if you're looking at long-term expectations, when people are looking at the game right now, what in your mind is the impact of server meshing, final dynamic version, Taylor's version? You know, that. I'll start with you on this one, Radar.
So let me make sure I understand the question, though. So you're asking, like, what does it look like to the casual player now, final server meshing?
Yes, like to a person who's playing the game now, if they were to see a window to the future where they could see the final version of it completely done, how does that look?
Hopefully it's invisible to the player.
Okay.
Like the idea is that we shouldn't even be thinking in terms of server meshing. We should just be on a server where there's a bazillion people playing and having fun. You know, we really have been kind of hyper focused on this idea of getting server meshing done. I think a lot of us know that it's a blocker from us being able to move forward. And so it's definitely been, like you said, viewed as this Jesus patch because it's something that's huge, an enormous undertaking that's taken a lot of effort, and it's something we need to get in there. But when you think of all the other successful MMOs that are out there, who the hell else really thinks about server meshing? You know, it's one of those things that just has to work so that they can then get on and deal with the actual mechanics that make the game fun to play. So I have a feeling that after it's said and done, nobody's going to talk about it anymore. Hopefully, as long as people don't complain because it ain't working properly. But long term, that's really how it should be. It should be one of those things that we just don't notice.
Yeah, like I'll add an example like that: 64-bit floating precision or object container streaming.
Right.
When's the last time anyone talked openly about
those
OCS?
Those were significant developments, though, right?
Yeah, they were huge at the time.
Yeah, now we take them for granted. We take them for granted because we're in this ginormous universe that's possible because of that. Yeah. That's the way it should be.
And whenever my ears perk when they say multi-threading.
Yeah.
Because that's so huge to get anything multi-threaded.
Same question for you, Naz. What is the future of server meshing look like? Like if we were to see this in the
cheap answer, go watch the first video Chris made on Star Citizen. Like that's what it is. It's the final version, it's the final vision of Star Citizen. A seamless sci-fi world that's living on its own that you get to play inside of and find friends, make enemies, and live in this world that has ups and downs and churns through things, and wars will light up and peace alliances will be made, things will be discovered and things will be lost. It is a frankly revolutionarily deep what is that word that Chris loves using?
Immersion?
Yeah, an immersive sci-fi world. And it's nothing like it's been done before. If they can get to it, then it becomes unlike any game that has been made up to this date and will be made for the next 50 years.
Okay. That's bold. I like it. I like the bold statement.
Well, it's absolutely true. This argument gets made a lot, and you kind of get labeled as a fanboy for this. But this is absolutely, definitely a game that's not been done by anybody else, in being done in a way that nobody else has really done. Not going through a studio, somebody who's just had decades of experience in the industry, has a dream on what he wants to create, and actually has managed to successfully get the resources to build it.
Mm-hmm.
And you cannot draw an example of that elsewhere. There have been other people who've done crowdfunded games, and they've developed some cool stuff with it, but never to the scale of success that CIG is at right now.
The only parallel I know of is a fictional one, and that's Halliday and the Oasis.
Yeah.
That's the only parallel I got. And that's why I said the next 50 years, it takes someone, that has the experience, but also, it takes that vision of something that is way too big for anyone else to try. Yeah.
The moonshot vision. And a bit of success to bolster it. The success here is the ability to get people like us engaged enough to spend the money on it to give him the resources to build it.
Yeah. None of the other 90s game designers are doing anything like this. The guy who made The Sims is working on a crypto game. The guy who worked on Civ is still making Civ games.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing what they do, and they're not bad for it. But Chris was the one that this time said, I'm going to do something big. And I think it will be another generation till we get another guy who does that.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going to try, but like you said,
I think he was the first one who was successful at conveying the vision in a way that resonated with people enough to support it as wildly as they have.
I will say, I at times I've questioned Chris's vision, and I still will. There's lots of things I still have concerns about and questions about, but like the Redeemer. That's not his fault, though.
He let it in the game.
That's true. I can blame him for that. But what I will say is there is, I will say this a lot because I think it's important to iterate this. No one will ever make a Star Citizen again. This is not a game that can be made by anywhere. We're at the perfect time and the perfect point in history for a game like Star Citizen to be made, good or bad.
That's a fair statement.
There's just no way, because if this was developed by a traditional game studio, this game would have been put out in 2016, and it would have been Starfield the MMO.
Yeah.
It probably would have done fine, but it really depends on, like, you know, who would have stuck around on it and that kind of thing. And you just don't make enough money. CG just doesn't make enough money for this sort of game, because the actual profits they make is like 2 million, 3 million when they make a profit.
When they make a profit.
Yeah.
Because they like try so hard not to. They try to hire as many people. Like, people are like, why are their like offices so lavish? Because they're spending all of their money on devs.
Yeah, they want to. It's clear from the people I know who work at CAG that Chris Roberts and his team are from that generation of like early devs who were like doing it for fun. And they were doing it for fun. They're getting paid for it, obviously it's a job, but like they did it because they had a passion for it.
I forget what document it was that they said, like, this point blank, hey, it's like it's getting more and more expensive to get devs because we're keeping up with inflation.
Yeah. Yeah. And
like, that's amazing.
What was I gonna say? Oh, but like he's also part of that generation where that turnover from we're making games that's profitable and because we enjoy it to this is a business. This is a business that has to appease shareholders. And as a result, the development has become, being a software developer has become a lot more lucrative than being a game designer and game developer, because they just kind of pay them really low, and the positions are often like you're constantly rotating through different areas, and it's very like you just don't get paid a lot of money to make games. It's a real like low like bar. In terms of the field, like you can get paid a lot more money to do other things, which is why people do that. People go in the games industry, get really good at the games industry, and then just bounce because they can get a job doing the same sort of thing in finance and make so much more. So like it's clear Chris does treat the developers like people, instead of assets that need to be shuffled around every 6 months to make sure that the shareholders have money, which is nice.
To do it that way. Otherwise, if you really want to keep people, it's not. A lot of it's not always just about the pay. It's about the culture of the company, and you can sometimes pay people $1 bazillion in the world, and it's not enough to keep them because the place sucks, and that's it's an important factor to recognize.
I'm going to mention a company. I'm not going to mention a company.
Well, and even chat saying like no one's made Star Citizen yet. It's like, yeah, true, but like the fact that CIG is still developing the game with the kind of profits they get, which keep in context is garbage for the kind of size studios they run. It is awful.
Yeah.
Like you could not run a development studio with the size that they are, with the kind of profits they get after paying money and stuff like that. The idea that CIG has got like a mountain of blow somewhere that they just do with every single time they sell a ship is frankly insanity.
And it's all like most of their sales is non-essential like sales. For, like players like it's from players getting bigger ships off the $45 package.
Yeah.
Like, or it's subscriptions, or it's whatever, or it's microtransactions. That could all disappear tomorrow. Like, no studio is going to take on this kind of risk. Like, zero studios. Like, even indie studios don't want, like
let's pitch
1,000 plus devs, and like their entire studio is propped up on maybe people will come back for seconds.
Yeah. let's spend 4 years, 5 years, and fuck up multiple times in our R&D process, spending millions of dollars on people who are some of the best doing some of the hardest stuff that you can do with an online technology or with a software technology, which is online integrations with multiple users. And let's just do it, and then if it fucks up, we just keep going. Let's just pour money into this pit and hope it works. It's a ballsy move, and so far it's worked out considering what CIG has done. So you could say a lot of things about CIG, but they definitely are passionate about this, and This as server meshing is a great example of that, because not very many companies try something as crazy as what CIG is doing with server meshing. That's my segue into talking about the other crazy bastards in the universe who've also tried to do this. And I do want to talk about mostly Ashes of Creation, because it's the big thing. In July, they announced it, and they seem to want to race CIG to see who can get it out first.
They do.
Yeah. So the question becomes, what is Ashes of Creation's system? I will say, for those of you who don't know what Ashes of Creation is, it's a much more traditional MMO. It's got one realm. You go into the realm, you play around, you do the things that you do. It's a fantasy universe.
With base building.
It's got with base building. It's a little bit more survival based and stuff like that.
It's kind of like New World 2.0, sort of.
Yeah.
I think of it. It's very similar.
It's New World, but with more player agency than
more
New
permanency,
World.
I think, or persistence, I guess. Right.
We're gonna get to keywords in a minute.
So, Naz spent an hour watching an hour and a half video. So I'll let you, Naz, start us on this. Your experience with watching it, because I also watched it. What did you gather from Ashes of Creation? Is their system similar? Is it different from Star Citizen? Is it better than Star Citizen? How does it function in difference?
So I've come to this conclusion, like, just at the end of the video. So I'm kind of putting the end of the video in the beginning, just to give everyone like the synopsis of the entire thing. Is they have the same problems as Star Citizen, and they have the same there goes the word again, conclusions, like how to fix them, but they have a completely different methodology. And I'm sure we're going to talk about the difference in methodology in a minute. But it is a not shocking, that's I need this word. It is much smaller than Star Citizen, both in geographic scale and also depth of features. Like, they're not simulating an entire economy one for one. They're not, you don't have hundreds of planets. You have, like you said, just the one map. And there's not, millions of interactable things that people are going to leave all over the ground and things. It is a much more subdued, much more. It's traditional RPG, medieval fantasy type of game with base building and village kind of mechanics.
Okay.
As far as I know, I've not looked into like the actual game much, just the server tech.
So what would be the differences, the main differences between Ashes of Creation's approach to this to the same problem? Because I'll also say that for those of you who don't know, it is shockingly similar. It is like the transition between servers is supposed to be seamless. You can fight between servers just like in Star Citizen. Like it works supposedly just like CIG has pitched the idea of server meshing.
That's more because that's the definition of server meshing, though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I played Atlas, and Atlas has server meshing, but it's you cannot see. You go to the edge of the map in Atlas, and it's it's like a shimmering border, and you sail through, and then you
classic or retro version. There's a transitional edge.
Yeah.
And you have to cross it to do anything on either server.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with Atlas, so I don't know. What kind of game is Atlas anyway?
It's an Ark clone.
Okay.
So it's
I
like
know what Ark is.
It's survival. It's like a pirate survival game where you can build your own. You can build your own ship and like from scratch, like the way you want to, and all kind of stuff.
So the biggest difference in the architecture is, and I wish I could like show slides here, because harken back to I think it was 2018 CitizenCon, and it was one of the all digital ones, where they showed the shiny neon graphics for server meshing, and they had the diagram where all the clients and servers were talking to each other and said that won't work because of traffic. Like, there's too much traffic. So we're putting in a replication layer between the servers, the back end, and the clients. Ashes goes the exact opposite way, but they're doing it in a weird way that also makes it work. So they're saying we're not going to use a replication layer, because that's how, again, this kind of server architecture is thought of specifically, is to have that replication layer. But they're taking each what would be a replication layer down to the server level and shrinking it, saying you can only replicate with your neighbors.
Yeah.
And then they're having the servers be able to talk to services, like we have mission service and transit service, they're having only that service data talk between non-neighbor servers. And so all servers are talking with neighbors and services and then clients.
So the reason why they can get away with that is that Ashes of Creation is, for the most part, on a 2D plane. So it is, granted you can go up hills and things like that, but for the most part, it's a grid. And so if you keep it on a single 2-dimensional plane, you can have servers that abut each other and only need to communicate with people who are crossing the plane. So this server only needs to talk to its neighbors because that's how they manage crossing the server plane. When you deal with Star Citizen, it's volumetric, so that concept doesn't necessarily apply. And there's also functionality. I'm being a little presumptuous here, because I watched the video and I, unless you're actually programming on the project, you're not going to know exactly. Yeah. So I'm making some educated guesses here. But
I'm going to pause real quick because some people are saying like we're saying it's bad. We're not saying Ashes of Creation is bad in their approach.
No, they're geniuses.
No. Yeah, it works for them because the infrastructure and the design of the system is different, so they can get away with it.
Yeah, we're not saying it's good or bad. We're just saying we're trying to kind of compare the two, because I know I've seen a lot of people trying to start shit between the two communities, being like, "Oh, we got it first," and it's like
what I would love
trying to look at
how
that.
they did. You know how they did the thing with Eve? I would love for them to get their lead server architect, both from CIG and from Ashes, and put them in the same room and say fight.
Yeah,
to discuss their different architectures and
just discuss their approaches and the things they've had. That'd be a good GDC. A good GDC talk is server meshing.
That'd be great.
Server meshing, two different approaches, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
right, that'd be cool.
Somebody asked, does Ashes already have does Ashes of Creation already have dynamic server meshing?
They don't need it.
They are going to have it.
Yeah.
They are going to have it. So where Ashes is right now, as of that video being posted in July, is they are working on Alpha 2. So just for a little reference, not that numbers mean anything in versions, but we're about at Alpha 4. 4.0.
Coming up.
They're
on
Alpha 2. And they just prioritized server meshing, and they were able to get it done way faster in the development stream than Star Citizen.
Yeah.
For a reason, they started in 2016.
Yes.
And they want to go into a live alpha, much like Star Citizen is now, by the end of the year. They also plan to have dynamic server meshing by the time they release their live alpha.
Okay.
Yeah.
So continue there, Radar. Because I think you're next about this. Like, what is your take on the Ashes of Creation versus Star Citizen in terms of their approach?
Yeah, I think to Naz's point, it's not as complex a world probably because there's not going to be items left around in random places.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably fewer entities to worry about. There's probably a lot more static content. They don't have to worry about the dynamic terrain as much, in the sense that I don't think you can deform the terrain, as an example.
Mm-hmm.
It's static in that regard. I think it just the architecture of the game makes it a little bit easier to kind of design server meshing in the way that they are, and it's probably going to be just as effective and work pretty well. I think the differences in the style of game are really what make them unique in and of themselves, because they're both trying to solve a different problem with different resources. They're both cool achievements, I mean, if they pull it off and they make it work. I mean, has there any, what does WoW do? I haven't played WoW in God knows how long. But do they actually have?
They have something similar, but it depends. Like, I think,
isn't it like regional servers? Like each region is whatever theme, like the volcano area is one server, and and they have one of the biggest things they talked about in their video was layering or instancing. They want as little instancing, much like Star Citizen, as possible. So both projects have this end goal, this crowning achievement of a single or a single shard, to get everyone on the same world, so that if you go to ArtCorp Plaza and stand in front of the big spinning gear ball near the benches, you will see every other person standing there that is there in the world.
Interesting. It's interesting you bring up that point, because that is one blocker that CIG is going to ultimately have to contend with. And I don't know how they will do it. So like at some point you are going to reach a max limit as to how many people you can have on a given server. And we all kind of daydream about these massive ship battles.
10,000 whatever.
There's a really easy
way. They do it on Eve. Well, I'm kind of curious. So on Eve, they have a bazillion people when they go into this time dilation mode, which basically slows everything down. And it works for that environment because it's not FPS. How do you think they're going to do that in Star Citizen?
So with FPS, it's really easy because you have ship interior culling.
Yeah.
So anyone who's running FPS doesn't have to worry about the people outside.
Right.
The density of ships outside, I don't know about that one, but density about people, again, FPS, in a landing zone, there's a really stupid way they could easily control traffic. Literally control traffic. ATC.
You can't land.
Sorry, we're booked.
But what about
go land somewhere else?
What about a giant volumetric space battle though? So I know I've done this on New World where you're trying to walk across the map and you get blocked by this imaginary invisible curtain that says there's too many people in this area. And it totally sucks you out of the immersion. In Star Citizen, imagine somewhere in deep space there's a big space battle going on and you're trying to get in there and get into the game. What are they going to do? Block it off and say you can't fly there right now?
What are the systems?
I have a solution. I have the solution, which is kind of weird, which is they're never going to let a shard be so big that it can't hold every single person in a single server. So, there will be a limit, but it'll be the shard limit, not the. I
think they're still gonna. Okay, that's a possibility.
Yeah.
The one thing I can add is that to your point is that CIG right now is optimizing performance right now based on how many people they squeeze into their current servers that are fully loaded. So they're working balls to the wall to make it run as good as possible, even with the current state in the server as loaded as it is. It's already filled to the brim with entities and covering the whole solar system. If they optimize it for that, then when they pull it back to the point where they have a server that's covering just a quarter of that or an object container of that, then they've done the work and they've had the experience to figure out how to optimize it for that. But the problem is there's still ultimately always going to be
a limit,
some kind of hard limit.
Yeah.
And the fear is what happens if they really do get that successful to the point where they really do have 10,000 ship battles?
I think
at some point someone's got to make the decision on how to handle that.
I think your client would definitely break down before you got to a point where, in space, like you said, they're optimizing the crap out of it. If you're not near a planet, your performance is already way better on the client.
Yeah.
So that means obviously the server's way better. So in a space battle, so you're probably not you probably already have a little bit more overhead than on the ground. And I think it's going to be much more your client's going to start going bad before the server does.
Because all the the lighting and the guns going by and
just
all that kind of
drawing
stuff.
Polygons.
Yeah.
There is a point where there's so much happening in density. If you're flying a javelin, you have that area of effect that nothing's going to come into. So you are actually way bigger, volumetrically, than if you were to take line up arrows to try and fill a server. And then on the ground, you have an entire axis half cut off at the ground. So you only have the volume above the ground, which limits how much stuff, again, you can pump into an area. Yeah. And then that should be taken up by Dynamic 1 and 2. And that weird procedural island.
Spinning up and down and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I honestly think that density like that is not going to end up being as big of a problem that it could be. But again, that is completely theoretical. But I imagine your client will definitely cry way before the server does.
And that's one of the kind of natures of CIG is that CIG hires insane people to do insane jobs. They have people who do black magic. They are voodoo magicians. I do not know how they function, but the people like Benoit who are able to do this stuff, and everyone in Benoit's team, Ahmed and all of those folks, they are magicians. And I've talked to CIG developers before about it, and they're like, yeah, they are literally magicians. I've had problems where I'm like, Ahmed, I can't do this. Ahmed just goes, there you go. And just like, how did you do that? It's like, it took too long to explain, and then just move on. Like what?
Can't even start to explain why I can't even start to explain.
Yeah. So like, and it's not just CIG. It's like a lot of companies hire people like this that are insane. And CIG, if they give these crazy people enough money and time, they'll figure it out. They'll get to the point where they'll get to the point where it's the graphics team problem.
Yeah.
Like, make this work. Yeah. And now they have to figure out how to make it work.
I think it was last year they had 2 different graphics ISCs. Like they're already on it. They're trying to get absolutely every millisecond they can out of the graphic side.
You know, one of the things I mentioned earlier was time will solve all problems. Yes. Technically. Mm-hmm. And if you look at what Star Citizen is today, and compare it to what we started with in 2012, you know, it would not have been possible back then. It's possible now because hardware has evolved, computers have improved, graphics cards have gotten better. You know, network speeds have improved for the most part because people have more people are adopting higher speed connections, which helps solve some of the latency issues. So hopefully, you know, at some point, you know, if they keep development going and, you know, they keep taking advantage of newer hardware, maybe we can get to that point where getting 10,000 people in a single server is not a big issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one barrier that both games have to, one immovable barrier that both games have to contend with is the speed of light.
Damn you, Einstein.
If they could get like qubits to work, then like instant replication.
Yeah. There's the physics that the speed of light in a vacuum is faster than that through fiber. Somebody was actually trying to suggest that Starlink could help improve cross-continent communications because
that's still you still have to like Wi-Fi it down.
Yeah,
but granted it was Musk, I think, who was trying to make this claim, but theoretically it improved the total latency peer-to-peer across country was
if
improved.
It does, that's gonna make a lot of stuff different.
Yeah, but how much? How much? Are we talking like
if it's a matter of milliseconds or shaving, you know, maybe even 50% off the total cost in time, maybe, you know.
I mean, the first 50% of like all capacity is going to be taken up by banking. Like it's just gone.
Yeah. And stocks. Naz, I'm going to go with you. We need quantum networks.
Quantum networks.
Quantum networks.
I think short of that, and we had some discussion in there, people being like, they talk about like that's the problem with speed of light. I think at the end of the day, CIG is probably going to end up settling on regional servers, so like North America, Asia, Australia, Europe.
Yeah,
but you can travel between because of the replication layer, so you don't have to. You're not locked into North America. You can go to Europe, but by going to Europe, you know you're going to have bad latency. So if you want to stick around and just having fun, if you're just hanging out and being around things, you'll stick in North America.
It'd be interesting if they did like. And this would be definitely not something like a production company would do. But if they had like the regional servers for like decent people, like if you are just joining the game,
they talked about it.
Region, everything's fine. Just go.
They've talked about it.
And those weird people that just want to try a worldwide shard, just there it is. Have at it. Absolutely, I'd be on that.
Here's a worldwide shard. Enjoy your awful latency. You know.
Yeah.
The problem is once you start dividing it up like that, you run the risk of having one that's fun and one that's not.
Yeah.
I mean, they can just sunset ones that aren't.
They've also talked about the idea of things like filtering out people in terms of their play styles because they want to use because they have a system. For those of you who don't know, they have a matchmaking system. It exists. They've been updating it and working on it over the years. Which right now I think
it's on the roadmap not too long ago.
I think it just filters you. So right now I just like, oh, this person is with this party, so they're going to be matched with this person, so they should go there. But over time, it's supposed to you have preferential additions to servers. So like if your friends are all on this one server, it will move you, or the shard, it'll move you to that shard when you log in, when you hit log in. So I think
they collect way more stats than people think. And like both Minecraft and Starfield have pages you can go to see like tons and tons of stats, like how many times you've jumped and like how many burgers you've eaten. I want a tab to where I can see all the different things that Star Citizen chat that they're tracking, like how many times I've reloaded, how many bullets I've shot out of specific guns. Like, where am I actually good at
like a
with
tracker?
specific guns?
Like a tracker app that we can use on ourselves.
Because like they're collecting it. I just want to
Yeah.
see it so I can use it.
All right.
Awesome.
I think this is a good. We had a solid hour and 15-minute discussion. I think to end off the Ashes of Creation discussion is, I will round it up by saying that the fact that Ashes of Creation is adopting something similar to Star Citizen, I think is a good thing, because anybody who's interested in MMOs, I feel like this is probably the future. Like their methods are the future of how MMOs are going to work, because it will allow for higher fidelity games. It'll allow for larger player counts. It'll allow for MMOs to break out of the static sort of rut they've been in since WoW came out, and allow them to develop and become a little bit more like play around.
I had mentioned SnowRunner earlier. I totally believe, like, with server meshing, when server meshing becomes the norm, they can totally make us a global server meshed version of SnowRunner. Absolutely.
Yeah, I could see the same thing with like people have asked, like, what would you like to see with a Star Citizen server technology? I give me an entire, the breadth of the United States and set it in Old West.
Yeah, do
Old West
the
MMO.
crew, just not crappy this time.
Yeah,
there's incentive for the game studios to get server meshing working too.
Yeah,
because one of the M's in MMO is multiplayer. It's one of the driving factors to a player-generated content that keeps players engaged. If you look at New World, they went through a situation not too long ago where people started to drift off and they started having to consolidate realms. The server realms. They basically get rid of one and merge it with another one. They did that because there wasn't enough people on the thing. The more people you have playing a single game, the more likely you are to have people who are staying engaged and enjoying the game and loving it. Being able to break through that barrier, that limitation that keeps you from having the maximum number of people on it, is a big hurdle that I think a lot of the studios recognize they got to tackle. That's why I think Ashes of Creation is trying to do it, and why other studios are trying to pull it off as well. Because that's what makes the game, is that player generated content.
Yeah.
The engagement from other people making things happen.
And it should, in theory, reduce the cost of running servers, which has always been a big problem with MMOs.
In theory.
Yes.
In theory.
In theory.
In server theory.
Yeah.
There's one last thing I wanted to do, and that's the terms thing and how freaky they line up. Like, even though they don't talk about Star Citizen at all in the hour-long video, some of them may know about Star Citizen, but it doesn't seem like they're familiar with Star Citizen. Again, completely different genre.
Yeah.
It's the only thing they have in common is their MMOs. But obviously they do call it server meshing. They do have a replication graph, just like Star Citizen. They're both on graph technology. Dynamic gridding instead of dynamic server meshing. Inner server replication is what we have, the replication layer. They just have a smaller replication and how we talked about their servers working. And microservices. Basically, we have the mission system, and transit system, and all these little microservices.
The social system, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So if you want like what we have, go look at the unofficial roadmap to server meshing. They're all listed there. So they are shockingly lined up as far as terminology goes.
Yeah.
Like I said, the only difference is where the replication layer is.
Yeah.
I do wonder, because we do need to get into the question and answers. So I will leave with this question. Feel free to answer this one, which is, I do wonder if there was some sort of theory on server meshing, because it's clear that CIG was built around the idea of server meshing. Like, it's in the name of the company, Cloud Imperium Games. They wanted to utilize cloud technology to build this sort of universe, and it's one of those few things that has pretty much stayed the same since the very beginning, because everything that has been developed for Star Citizen has been developed around the idea of server meshing. So I wonder if Chris was influenced by somebody else, or some other GDC talk, or some other sort of game industry or tech stuff that was going on about utilizing server meshing technology as we've kind of come at, because it's weird that they both use the same terms, and I don't know if they probably don't run in the same circles. So they might, but
that would be a good interview question for him.
Yeah, like, and the global network, the global community of game server, nice cat.
Yeah.
developers is it can't be that large. These are highly specialized people.
Yeah.
And to be back 2012, 2016, and 3 different games get started and into production with server meshing of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention obvious I believe that they have been influenced by Star Citizen. I believe Star Citizen will be influenced by them, and Star Atlas and Dual Universe, and there was another one I had in mind, but nothing happens in the game industry in a vacuum. As much as companies would love it to.
So I think, moreover, it's just that it's a known capacity and concurrency are a known challenge with MMOs, and it's a problem that's existed, and people needed to find a way to tackle it. So, like I said, New World and Warcraft, they would have realms. Even Star Wars Galaxies had realms, you know? That's not an ideal situation because of the headaches that presents as those servers grow and decay, and having one server that's popular and having a lot of action where another one dies off. That's a known problem that developers have had to solve or had to try to figure out how to address. Server meshing, I think, is the natural progression for tackling that issue. And it's been a big... there's a lot of headwind in trying to pull it off, and so I think that's why a lot of studios have been resistant to spend the effort to do it. But you see the value in it if you can pull it off.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be shocked if it's been tried kind of like VR, and the technology is finally caught up to where the projects that wanted to do it now can get off the ground.
Jin, and I think some other people are saying, well, it's server meshing has been around, and we said that at the beginning. Server meshing as a technology has been around for a while, but we're talking about this version of server meshing where it's a grid or like nebulous zones, which are all set to separate servers with one shard controlling all of them with distinct services. This variation of server meshing is just not it seems like it's new because it came out at the same time. Like it all came out around the same time. Like between 2012 and 2017, 2018 is when we started to see these projects come out. So I don't know. Maybe that's something to ask Chris or Benoit or other folks about it and that kind of stuff. So, good doggy. It's good.
Licking the salt off me. It's kind of gross.
Well, with that, let's wrap it up and kind of move on to the question and answer session. If you did enjoy this, if you made us all the way here, thank you for watching. We do this on Saturdays at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. My time is off because it's usually
3:30 Eastern.
3:30 Eastern is set up. So 4 o'clock is when we go live. So 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific on Saturdays. Twitch.tv/TheAstroPub or YouTube.com/TheAstroPubLive. If you did enjoy this and you've been watching this on Twitch, hit that follow button. Would love to have you come by. I'm trying to hit 20K followers. I'm at 18K, a little over 18K. So 18,204 followers.
You are not numbers today.
I am not numbers. We'd love to have you come on live. We do other games and other things like that. And if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you for watching. Thanks for hanging out. And if you are watching the recorded version of this, above Radar is a link to the full version, the full VOD. You click that link, and it'll be taking you to the full VOD, so you can watch everything, including like timestamps of when the Q&A starts. The reason why I've been doing this, because people want to ask why I do it, is because of how YouTube's algorithm works. It favors videos over pre-recorded, and that's how you grow, is getting more the kind of thing. It'll recommend my recorded videos more than my my live streams more frequently. So hopefully you do that and you enjoy that. And people have asked, well, I watched your recorded and I don't know where to watch the full Q&A. It's in the all of them are part of a Captain's Table podcast like playlist on Twitch, on YouTube. So you could hit that playlist and you'll be able to find them. They usually have similar thumbnails or similar titles, and they're posted around the same time. So you can definitely find them there. If not, right above Radar Ranger's head, which it won't always be above his head. We don't just follow him around and have the link above him, but
not yet. Wait for the metaverse.
Not yet. But it'll always be in that top area. And I'm going to also put it in the comments below, just so people have that link as well, because sometimes it doesn't work on mobile or something like that. Thank you for watching. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you to Radar Ranger. Make sure you check out my Radar. Great app. I love it. And check out the Nova Forge for Nazarus's thing on YouTube and Twitch. Is it Twitch as well, or is just Nazarus on Twitch?
Both is the Nova Forge.
Nova Forge.
Yep. Live both Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, all at 9 p.m. EST.
Check that out. And yeah, like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.